Maybe we should drop.
Here we go. Hello, 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 hello. And we are live with Madhouse at Bean. I'm so excited about this one. Hey, Navi. How's it going?
Hey. Good. How's it going?
Good. It's going good. Woohoo. We are on the Madhouse now. Woo.
Woohoo! This is
Woohoo.
wild. We haven't done a live session in a really long time, so I'm excited.
I
Um,
am also excited.
um,
And I am going to drop the link to the live session inside our Discord so people can join in. Let's see. Heading and
so which
hi
I'm not familiar.
everyone. Just we're live on YouTube and Twitch now, and
Okay.
and anything bad. Hi, you can join the stream here at message. We are now live with what have I gotten myself into? You can join the stream here and send. Perfect. All right, we're gonna see people coming in. People are gonna be able to call in if they would like. Get on the call with Navi and talk about do with hackathons, with Mint Bean, and this massive hiring hack. I mean, I can't believe how many people we have registered for the hiring hack. That like, oh my god, like we have like 800 people. Like I checked yesterday, we were at 790. Now we're 810, 820, which is insane. The number of people that registered over here is just, I'm so humbled by the response this time around. Wow, like wow.
Yeah,
I've
it's
never
been
hosted an event this large, and it's just massive. Like 800 developers showing up to one event to come together and to advance their careers together. This is a massive, massive, massive deal.
absolutely. I want to share our stream on Twitter, and I don't know how to do that. I'm not familiar with Twitch. Help. Um, so how do
Oh,
you
we're already going. We're already.
I wanted to share it on our Twitter. So, um, show me how. Show me the.
You want me to help you share this on? Oh,
Yeah.
just drop that link. Just drop this link over here that I dropped in Discord. Just drop that. Send that over to send that over. Just put it on Twitter. We are joined by Jordan and Katie. Hey Jordan. Hey Katie. So y'all actually are added automatically as guests, so you can actually unmute and talk with us, which is awesome. And I am excited to have you folks here. Now, if only I can make sure that people aren't all guests. That would be, because then uh, it would just not be very. Okay, yeah, here. Okay, good.
Okay.
I
Like,
think we're good.
sorry for the technical difficulties, but we're new to this. So we're this out as we go.
This is streaming with Madhouse. Um,
Figured out. Pitch and Riverside.
like
Live.
Riverside. Riverside is awesome.
All right. Join us for.
It's working, and I
Right.
think people can see YouTube now, which is great. Oh, are
All
you tweeting
right.
this out? Are you tweeting this out?
I am. I am. All right. So, okay. Today, honestly, like I feel like there was just a lot, and there's just so much in terms of getting back and responding to. I'm super excited, but like I feel like there's just a lot to do. Oh, hey,
Hi.
how's it
Hi,
going?
how's it going?
It's going pretty good.
It took me a minute to find this. Oh, where'd it go?
It's okay. It's okay. Except for y'all can
On.
see
Is
it.
that,
Except for y'all can see in my room.
we can all see in your room.
Yeah.
Is that your front door? Is that your front door?
Yeah, it's my front door to the house. I
Nice,
live in I got a trailer.
nice, nice. Today's session.
Um, I was super surprised. Like I said, I think I was talking to Monarch earlier when we were in the breakout rooms. It was like I didn't know what to expect. This is the first time I've ever done one of these, but it was like a I was expecting you guys to be like, see you later, and then just like take off. But y'all, I mean, we talked for what 3.5 hours and just visited, and that panel was awesome. And then we just, you know what I mean, like, and I'm really excited for the next for the next week for sure. And then like in future doing other stuff with you guys. So
Yeah, it means a lot. Honestly, panel was awesome. Panel, like I feel like every single person on that panel just was phenomenal, and there was just so many different ways we could have taken that conversation in terms of I think hiring is honestly broken when it comes to, we've been I've said this like before in various different groups that like I feel like hiring for software development changed in the last 30 years. I don't think it wasn't like it was actually intent to hire software developers. I the hiring looks very similar to grads and other fields are hired, and it's like it's got its like special quirks, and we don't really think about that when we think about like experience and the employer experience. Everyone's so unhappy, but then we don't do anything about it, which like makes no sense to me. So hopefully we make some strides and like move the needle in the right direction.
It's it's broken for everyone, but nobody wants to fix it. And here we are, Little Mint
right.
Bean, trying to at least fix this for a few people. Um, and I've been following Taylor and Joey Shakespeare for like, and I'm blown away that I was briefly on stage with them today. Um, Avi was moderating that panel, and Genevieve was there from GitHub. Riley was there from Netlify. I'm just response that this hackathon is, and that kind of neatly segues into this topic that we have today, which is what the heck have we ourselves into, right? I mean, on all levels, like, what the heck is a hackathon? Is a hackathon, and what the heck is this tech industry that we're trying to get into? Boot camp, or what's this coding thing in general? What are we doing overall? Like there's a lot that's going on over here. Grant, like, tell us about your experience so far. Like, you want to share your journey and tell us what where you're what like what are you coming in as a tell us a bit about yourself.
Uh, so I just graduated from Flatiron Bootcamp. Like 2 Fridays ago. So I just finished the software development or software engineering boot camp there.
Nice.
I'm just starting my job hunt and all that stuff. Or I've been at it for a little over a week now. And I know some stuff goes slow. I'm having very little traction right now.
Hmm.
But everything I've seen, I've been denied several times, and it's all, well, this position was filled, or oh, this was just those generic denials, and you don't know how to take it. But I know I don't have a whole lot to go into because I'm only just now doing this. I've got 4 months of experience at this point, so it's just
Hmm.
um, I had no coding experience ahead of this. I mean, I played video games, and that was about it.
Hmm.
And then it's been going. I really enjoyed the boot camp. I've met some great people, and the community's awesome. Like just like I was saying earlier, you guys are great. Everybody that I've met has been so friendly, and they're like, "Yes, let us help you because this is hard." But it just I haven't gotten any traction yet.
Dude, it's been 2 weeks,
I think
man. Give your give,
I've got my first interview like on Tuesday, I think, and I'm hoping it goes good. But I'm also not looking for very much because I have no idea what I'm doing.
That's a
wait,
massive
you
deal.
know
Deal,
what?
man. That's a massive deal.
I like it's only been 2 weeks. Like I feel like we don't kind of give ourselves enough credit. You just graduated. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. Like those programs are intense. Like you literally put your life on pause while you're trying to stuff out. I really what got you into like to make that switch? Like what were you doing before? What kind of take the leap?
So before, so I've been in the National Guard in Texas for a couple or for 6 years. Got finished with that. Tried college, wasn't really my thing. I was working for a family company for 8 years, almost straight, and that's all I did. I just worked for a print shop, and we did printing and all kind of stuff. And then decided to leave there like just recently in February when things started to slow down, and decided I had enough money saved up and all that I was like, maybe I can make a switch, because I'd been looking into coding several different times and never actually never took the step, and finally was in a position where I thought I could, and I did. So now I'm here.
That's interesting.
But it was definitely one of the hardest things I've ever done. Especially school-wise. School was never my big thing. College never went good for me. All that, and finally sitting down and trying to do I mean, I was at it 10 hours a day plus 6 days a week most of the time, and it was so much. And I hope enough of it stuck where I can get a job.
You will be
Because
able
it better,
to.
because
You
I
will
took a
be.
huge loan to go. So.
You'll get in, man.
Okay.
No doubt.
About it. I have no doubt about it. That's interesting.
I
You're
actually
you're
would
not
love.
the. Go ahead. Go
Sorry,
ahead.
go ahead, Mark. No, I wanted to know more about because a lot of us that go to boot camps are coming from previous sort of like careers, but we don't like talk about that. We don't talk about how to leverage that, like how to, the National Guard, the fact that you've been in print, let's can leverage that trying to transition into this industry. What exactly did you do in print?
So I worked started off as a shop hand, and I was just helping run the machines and maintain the machines. Then I went to sales for about a year, and then I went into like production lead. So I managed some of the team, or not the teams, because there's only 13 of us, but I helped like do quotes. I did like installs. I helped manage talk to the front of the house for the customers. I was like the in between for the back of the house kind of thing. So
Oh wow.
it was a lot.
Yeah.
So that means that
Benjamin
you
Franklin
know
was
how.
in print, man. Like Benjamin Franklin
Yeah.
was in before he became, well, the father of the nation. Print is interesting because in many ways getting yourself into talking about what we're getting ourselves into is you're kind of getting yourself into print 2.0. And when Ben Franklin was, he got into print right when print was in its infancy. It's kind of like what we're doing right now. We all find ourselves in tech is in its infancy, and it's an interesting parallel. The reason I bring this up, I was watching like a biography of from the print shop perspective, like, and it was like an hour-long talk, and like the stuff that this guy did, holy, and he didn't stop at print either, just like you. He didn't stop at print. He didn't let that him. He just
Through
moved
it, you
forward
you
and
shared.
onwards.
Sorry, Monarch. You shared, being you learn about Benjamin Franklin. Like it's just like, yeah, it's another dude on like an American Bill. It's like, okay, great, but you don't you don't really get to you don't really get to understand what has this guy accomplished. So yeah, like it blew my mind that like he came from youngest out of five generations, his son,
Mm-hmm.
right? something like that.
So Ben Franklin was pretty nobody. He youngest son of the youngest son of the youngest son of the youngest son of the youngest son. 5 generations, which means he and his father inherited nothing because the oldest son would get everything. So his father inherited nothing. His father's father, all the way up 5 generations. Like he didn't really have much to his name, and he 1700 was born in 1718, if I remember correctly. And his dad had two brothers, unfortunately died, and then he remarried, and he had 17 kids, 2 wives, not all of them surviving to adulthood, of course. And this Benjamin Franklin, he was the youngest son. He was younger than him, but he was the youngest. And dad comes up to him and says, well, back then, unfortunately, like, and the father was hyper focused on getting sons, successful. As much as back then he would be focused on getting his daughters married off to good families. So he comes up to Ben Franklin and says, "Okay, what do you want to do with your life?" And Ben Franklin, at this point, 17, he's been brilliant at everything he 12, 13. He's 12, 13. He's been brilliant at school. He's been brilliant at everything he's done so far. And he now has to pick a career. And he's a kid. So he says, okay, I want to be a sailor, right? To go out there, wants to discover a new world, to make a name for himself, the way that he knows best, which is he was always on the edge of knowledge. He always wanted to, study and his dad says, well, your oldest brother is a sailor. So Ben Franklin, different iterations of this, said, and he said, okay, well, I'll go into the business. And
oh my God, you're like fast forwarding all the. What I find really funny is back then it's like, hey, if your brother's in a trade, you can't do that.
You can't do that. Well, his older brother was also print, and Ben Franklin did an apprenticeship, which is kind of like that day's ISA. And what he did, he said, all right, I'm going to sign away 9 years. And in exchange for 9 years of my life, you're going to pay me basically, and I'm going to work real hard for you. Your apprenticeship, I will have everything that I need to become. Leave my brother's print shop. I can go. I can find gainful employment as a full member of the trade, and his brother wasn't a very, and he was a dick. Yeah, his brother was a dick, and like Ben Franklin just did not have a good time there, and he ran away from his apprenticeship, got on a ship, and he sailed to Boston right after. Yeah, and he sailed to Boston. And he had to lie. He had to tell people he was a full journeyman, even though he was and could be put in jail. And he starts employment in one of the two at the time, and he was a composer. Fonts together, like the little. He also did pressing, so he would press the fonts, the composed document. He would press it on paper. He would also powder the paper, so that's like the final stage of printing. And he knew all of this, but his bosses knew none of it. Like, his bosses were pure business people. They didn't know the trade. They didn't know the craft of print at all. And he knew this, and he had it in his heart to start a print business. Somewhere in there of the colony, and he has a. He goes for 2 years. He goes to London, comes back. It's a big misadventure, but basically he goes to London and it doesn't work out. Comes back. I'm gonna skip over all of that, but then he wants to start his own print shop. He wants to start his own newspaper. you know anything about Ben Franklin, Ben Franklin made his newspaper man, and the newspaper, he knew everything from the ground up. It just it reminds me so much of what boot campers are trying to do. They're trying to do that same apprenticeship model for that was back then in the 1700s. They're trying to go through like Grant. You're trying to do a very similar thing. You're trying to and at work you signed away a large chunk of your savings, which is it's basically you've signed away a large chunk of your energy right there, and
Right.
gainful employment at this point, and you'll work for him for several years informally. There's no like agreement to work for them, but you wanna get those skills intermediate, and maybe you have dreams of starting a business of your own. Maybe you have dreams of working in a large enterprise. Ben Franklin's story just reminded me of the bootcamp model, because that like I wish there was something like an apprenticeship in sure like I will work under developer for 3 years, and sure I'll take for the privilege to do so, learn the craft, and then have a safe, predictable entry into the industry. And I wish that was where ourselves, but that's not where we found we were finding ourselves. We found ourselves, coming back to the title of the show today, we found ourselves in this mad world where basically gambling with your career and your life. You need to enter the industry, and you need like get your own foothold, and it's all up in the air. You're doing structure, and boot camps. I did it self-taught. I had having a family that could support me while I did this. I don't even have that. And what boot camps are giving structure of getting started, where okay, well, get you started, and we can get you basic skills. Like we can teach you how to compose, or we can teach you how to in Benjamin Franklin's language. But what goes beyond that? I feel like we're looking at a whole new of teaching people. I feel like we're looking at a whole new world of camps. But yeah, I don't know. Like, and I've been telling for a while now. I want to hear your thoughts. Like Grant, especially, I want to hear your thoughts, man. Like, how do you feel? I'm kind of couching this in a fully apply, and I'm very cognizant of that. And I kind of want to hear your thoughts. And what you find yourself now? What have you found yourself in, and how do you feel?
I guess for right now everything's like, I mean, a lot of what you said, it does apply, because I stepped off at all of this. I'm stressed. It's extremely stressful because, like you said, I've got a mortgage, I've got everything, and I don't have a job right now. I have extra debt that I took on to do this, and it needs to pan out within a few months, or I'm gonna be sunk. You know what I mean? So it's just there is a lot of pressure to keep learning, which I'm trying to do every day. But keep learning, keep moving, but do your job applications and work on stuff and try to learn something new. And by the way, you have to do algorithms now, because we didn't really get a chance to go over algorithms, but that's what we test on. So you have to know how to do algorithms, and I don't have any basis in theory, in computer theory and stuff like that. And it's just extremely stressful, you know. Yeah, I don't know.
I fucking hear you.
I'm literally, I'm just spinning my wheels right now. You know, I finally got a site hosted for the first time yesterday. After arguing with React Router, it started throwing stuff off, and I couldn't figure it out, and then I had to. But I mean, there's Medium articles on anything. So you just have to figure out how to Google it, and I finally got something up and running, and I was like, cool, great, it's running. Yeah. But it looks bad, but at least it's running.
Yo, man, like, I think that is probably the biggest win that you've had this week, and I want to acknowledge that. Like, you deployed an application. All by yourself. That's massive. And not enough people celebrate their wins. I think that's great. massive. I think this is huge.
Yeah. First of all,
How does that
that
feel,
was an
man? Like,
awesome.
first off, right? Like this thing is
It's
great.
really
I
This thing was great.
have a laugh
It was
track
like that little
here. I have
soundboard was slick.
transitions. I liked it too.
Wait, I feel like there's a in terms of like audio on this thing, but I kind of want to talk about Benjamin's story because I had no idea about his history, how badass this guy was, and how he just didn't take no for an answer. He created his own path, and so like, he deserves that place on a $100 bill. I had no idea. All and so like I think that the tech like it severely needs innovation, and the fact that about I'm sitting here spinning my wheels like that kind of sounds like we're wasting energy. Like when someone wheel that's like energy that we something more purposeful, and we're just wasting with our talent. Um, so
This is true. It's you know what? I think when from boot camp, I've heard this over and over again. Like, I don't know what to do next. I don't know what to do next. And the thing that you do next is just problem solve and debug the job search. You're gonna get stuck somewhere. Grant, where you
That
you're getting interviews? Is that right? Like, are you actually?
Right.
Okay, good.
Like I'm just now getting it. Like I'm getting interviews, so I know I say I'm spinning my wheels, but I know I'm making progress because, like you said, I've got a portfolio site moving. I'm working on GitHub stuff every day. I'm working on my LinkedIn resume. It's just I just feel like there's so many different directions to go. It's hard to stay focused, and I know a lot of the boot camps offer the extra supports and stuff. Like with the post grad, and I know Flatiron does, and that we're working through that process right now. But it's just a lot to do. It's a little overwhelming. I mean, because you just did all this boot camp stuff, and now there's basically a whole other one behind it while you're trying to get a job. But yeah, so it's not like I'm wasting time or anything. It's just there's just feels like I don't feel super accomplished, even though I know I did a lot today. It doesn't, you know what I mean? I guess like because you didn't turn that lab in, so you didn't get that accomplishment, right? So it's because it's all self-driven. So I think Jonathan gets where I'm at. So
Yeah, Jonathan's
I was like Jonathan gets me.
It's like that can just make the time fly so fast. And at the end of the day, you just feel like, oh, holy smokes, where? And I feel like I got so much done, but there's so little to show for it. And I know inside myself that I've done so much, but if my wife told me, hey, what did you do today? I can't show her a blank page on Vercel and say, oh yeah, I made a blank page, honey. Like it's not impressive for a whole 8 hours of work.
Right. 6 hours to do. I had to debug a lot of stuff, and there's 4 lines on this page, but it's on there and the button works.
Yeah.
Yeah, people just don't do it unless they did the process with you. Exactly.
because I remember when like I development and you had started your journey, and you would like what I worked on. Like literally he would say that, and that's cool. And it's like I couldn't match that enthusiasm because I didn't understand that like I see like 2 lines of and like what does this do again? And it's just like you can't when you're not in application building and you don't understand software development, like you can't appreciate it. You're just like, oh yay, you want to be supportive, but you have no idea what the hell you're supporting.
And that's the same problem that I have is the vast majority of them are the vast majority of interviewers are non-technical. They're trying to get a sense of your communication skills or your fit, whatever that means for them. They will reject you, or they will take you to the next step based on something that's not indicator of performance at the end of the day, because they don't go on. Like this industry is brand new, not a program yet, and I think that's changing. And middle school, they're starting to teach kids how to code really early. And like we're still in the Wild West development and of the internet, and nobody knows how to relate to this thing that we're all building together. I mean, what the heck are we building together? Massive, world-spanning, invisible that somehow makes us laugh and cry. It's and our loved ones, like, what the heck is this thing? And then tell them, like, they don't even know what a variable or function. No, but they don't really, and they don't know what a stack trace or how deployment works. Like it's like just you feel like an alien. I've been there. Like I felt like an alien just explaining or recruiters. I for 3 days look at it, it's beautiful, and they're like, oh, but it's just like a button and like a form on a page. Like what the heck? So frustrating. There's an understanding gap. There's companies don't know how to hire recruiters. Taylor said today that companies are just lazy. Taylor Desane, fantastic dude. He was on the panel today. He said that companies and they actually, like, the way I put it is companies are ignorant, which I think is closer to the truth. I think ignorant. I think we don't know what we don't know in this industry on all sides. Like like recruiters vet developers, hiring managers don't developers don't know how to impress or recruiters, and we just don't. We're just three in the same room, not able to talk to each other, and that's what we are as an industry, and it's just doing so much damage in the world. It sucks that you're in this limbo right now. I have no hard, and which I know you are. I have no doubt you'll make it in because I did, and if I could do it, you can do it. It's honestly something that it's doable. It's just holy smokes, you gotta do different system. I wouldn't even say broken. I would just say immature system that we're in. Like we're trailblazing right now, all of us. It's true.
Yeah. I kind of feel like we don't have the same language. Like, you kind of talked about that you, Taylor, and hiring managers during talking to a hiring in the week, and I won't name names, but they said that, like, I was like, whoa, um, this senior developer is the one who's looking at the resumes and screening all the resumes. Developer takes a look at all the resumes that are coming in. They take that pile and they pass it to an executive assistant. After they pass it to what she's doing, she's calling all those folks and just kind of just doing a communication check. She has no idea developer, no idea what she's looking for in terms of the developer, and that's their hiring process. And so many companies are doing this. It's like they've sort of made up their own process. Like, wait a minute, this doesn't actually make sense. Like, you can't an executive assistant to hire software developers. Can they? Okay, they might be able to smell good communication versus bad communication, but what the hell tell you about their skills? Not much.
Jonathan put it. Jonathan's in our chat beautifully. He said employers want a blossomed vegetable in a non-soiled farm. And I have no clue what a blossomed vegetable is, like what the definition of that. I have no clue what a non-soiled farm is. I know that baby soiled diapers, like that's what soiled means to me. I have no clue, but I understand you, man. It's like they want something from nothing, and that's not gonna happen. Like it's not gonna happen. And there's I fundamental tech talent shortage. I think there's complete misalignment on multiple levels, like 4 levels, and until we come together and talk, I don't think this problem is going to go away until everybody's expectations and be at all around and hiring managers and recruiters.
Good
Like
point.
I wanna hear from people though. I want to people. So Riverside lets us invite people on, just like Grant, who we're speaking with right now. And Grant, thank you for pretty much our. You've
Been
been
a solid guinea pig, but
yeah,
you're pretty much a guinea pig
for the first session,
and
and I love the fact that you're on here, and you have so
some
many insights. I want to hear from somebody else, and I want to hear their stories. If anybody wants to hop on to a call, if you're watching on YouTube or Twitch, just on Discord, and I can bring you on as a guest. In chat, Jonathan, Katie, if you guys want to on and just do a call in, I would love and just to hear your thoughts and what you're and what the hell do you find yourself in right while we're waiting for that though. Navi, tell me something that you today, like share.
Yeah, before I do that, I just kind of wanted to say, I guess come on down. You don't have to feel like you need to turn your camera on. So if you want to just
Hmm,
keep it audio only, that's totally fine. Just kind of wanted to throw that out there. What I learned from the panel
great point.
today was that Charlie kind of said something that she's worked for some like really interesting brands. She's worked for ThoughtWorks and like her entire LinkedIn profile is just like some really interesting companies. And she said that felt that she's gotten when she deserved it. So that kind of
Hmm,
like a lot of work that needs to happen with a hey, this person either 6 months ago or a year ago has picked up a few skills in their toolkit and now this level. And it's like
hmm,
recognizing a lot of problems. One is breaking into the industry, but then when you get there, it's like the work's not finished, right? It's like, so how do we recognize that you're no longer a junior? At what stage? It's like,
hmm,
okay, and everyone is different. People are very quick at learning. Like within 3 months, they're able to sort of grasp new ideas and concepts, and it's like, okay, this person is moving a lot faster than someone else in shoes. So how do we recognize that? How do we recognize that like that came in as a junior is now contributing to the team as an intermediate developer, but yet junior salary, and like we've hired this person cheap, keep them at that level until the company is ready to invest in them.
yeah, yep, yep, I can relate. Jonathan's on here. Hey, Jonathan. We had a pretty good conversation earlier. I think Jonathan a rattlesnake. We have this really funny thread going on right now where everybody's talking about the weirdest things they ate. I get to cheat because I'm vegetarian, and there's not. I mean,
realistically,
realistically,
and I'm
I'm
jealous
jealous
of
of
people
people
who've
who
eaten
like,
you know,
octopus and squid and rattlesnake. Like, what the heck does that even? We had a great conversation earlier today, and Jonathan told me what he's finding himself in, and I'm so happy to call in. Yeah, like take it away. Tell us find yourself in, and what are your thoughts? Like, what are your impressions? Like, just don't hold back. Like, what do you feel?
Uh, well, thank you for having me. But it's very very overwhelming. The whole space in general. It's I don't know. The way I see things is like trying to. I think the one thing that I can equate to this is I was one of those dumb jocks in high school, and trying to do a play tryouts for a game or for a sport, and then coming short each time. And like y'all were saying earlier, is it's y'all can you can do a full day's worth of work and only work on a button or only work on a small little side of the spreadsheet or the sheet itself, and you have nothing to show for it, or you have a small thing to show for it, but it's just like crap.
Mm-hmm.
And so and that it's hard, and like y'all were saying, the whole situation with recruiters is they don't necessarily know, they just they see paperwork and this is a possible candidate. Now let me see. I can transfer this over to the person that I can filter you over to the person that knows a little better, but that's as far as I can get you. So it's frustrating. And then, like I said, going from HTML and CSS was a little bit of a breeze, but not necessarily. Actually, that's a lie. I was beating my head on the table. But JavaScript is even worse. It seems like for me to learn. So it's a pain in the butt. But you know, I see it though that it's a long process and it's going to be a long process. The technology, we're just barely breaking the ice, and um, I feel that if you put yourself in the state of mind of never stop learning, then it's endless and it's a good thing.
Hmm. Hmm. Beyond never stop learning, it's also never have an ego. If you can get to that state, which is really like it's an ask of people, but if you can get to that state being beat down by the code, that's the mindset works here. It's a weird headspace because I came in from retail, and in retail sales and management, like you kind of have to you kind of have to rely on your ego because you want to put your best foot for the customer,
Mm-hmm.
and you want to present the best part of your personality. Now imagine you bring that into code and you're putting all of your effort into it and you're expecting the code to respond, metaphorically speaking, and it doesn't. We can do that. It does that. And how
Mm-hmm.
do like you kind of feel like you're communing with the computer. You feel like do it in a weird way, but the damn thing is cold and doesn't respond the way you need to. You need like I kind of feel you over. Where did you graduate from a boot camp? Can you tell us a bit more about how you found yourself here?
I've always I was in high school and I didn't really necessarily know what I wanted to do, uh, and up until recently, up until about a year ago, I didn't know still what I wanted to do. Now I just turned 26, and I've always wanted to try computer science and learning how to code, but I never knew how until I saw an ad from a self-paced boot camp called Dev Slopes it's based here in Austin or close to Austin, and basically what they're doing is they're teaching us online, uh, basically the fundamentals of all this, and if you are not able to understand it, the mentor is there on the Discord channel. If I have any questions, if I have any problems, reach out to him and let him know which one are you having, um, which video you're having troubles on, and we can go back in there and look at it, and then we can walk through it.
Hmm.
But um, you know, it's been a grind. It's been hard. It's been late nights, early mornings, and it seems like it's still going to continue on to be so.
Yeah, yeah. How
uh, Come November will be a year
hmm,
in the same class and whatnot.
hmm.
And part of me thinks like, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead, go ahead. I want to hear this.
Well, I was just gonna say it's part of me thinks that I'm getting closer and closer and closer, but it also seems like as I get closer, I'm just getting further behind. If that makes sense, like y'all were
Yep,
talking about.
Yeah.
yep. That makes sense.
You know, sorry, I'll jump in for a second. I think that I've gone through the boot camp. Like we have sort of, because as much as I love boot camps and like, hey, we're a conference and celebration of them, but I feel like cohort, you put yourself, you're putting yourself with everybody inside that cohort.
Mhm.
People sort of start dropping, and it's like got picked up by employer, that person got picked up, that doubting, like, oh, yourself in relation to those in that same cohort as you, and you're like, hey,
Mhm.
but I think I was smarter than that guy, even or that girl did even that person didn't even know what they were doing. Like, how did that person get hired? And like, I'm still out here struggling, you know? We've sort of self-worth with those around us. It's super toxic. And like, there's two things that you said, and then you're talking about age of like, I'm 26. So, 26 is like, you're still in your 20s, your mid 20s, trying to figure yourself out, and it takes a really long time to get who you are, the things you enjoy doing. And this concept that society has, that like, hey, you need to figure out what you want to do at 18, 19, and like, be like, it's ridiculous. Like, if I go back to like 18-year-old me, I was like an idiot. Like, I didn't know what I wanted in life. So yeah, like,
Totally. Like honestly, this whole it's almost a system, and I think I can say this because I'm Indian. It caste system. You say people ask you, "All right, what do you do for a living?" And you say, I do X, Y, Z. Well, now you're boxed in that category, and how much you try to break out of that mold, change your life, it's just hard. It's just hard because people expect you to be a certain way.
Right.
And they expect you to perform a certain way and never change. And it's just, yeah, it's toxic. It's toxic. I had a story to share from the Mint Bean community. And I don't think he'll mind if I call him out by name because he's really awesome. He shares his story often. Chris Arsenault from the Mint Bean community. You told me this morning or afternoon, Jonathan, that you just recently, right? And Chris, he had at about the 1.5 year mark, starting to learn how to code. And he was working, here's his story. So we met at about year and a quarter mark. His wife was pregnant at the time. He was learning how to develop. He had a full-time job doing something that he just didn't enjoy. And that wasn't really anything that was intellectually stimulating. It was like, it wasn't fun. And he just kept going at it. And I remember his and I saw pictures. I talked to him, sleepless night thing, and this went on and on and on. And once in a while, he'd come and say, "Hey, Monarch, I have an interview tomorrow. Like, can you help me out?" And would get on a call, and I'd kind of do it. Nothing happened for a whole 6 or 9 months after, and just around the 2 year mark, he finally got a job doing really cool stuff, like View 3, which is like that's cutting edge. It's brand new. It's really cool. I'm jealous. Like View 3 is like one of those things I wish I was doing in production. I'm here stuck doing a old version of React for Mint Bean. But I'm like, all right, like that's really insane that to get in, you had to struggle through that job. You had to struggle through having a kid on top of that job. You have a job, you're studying, and you have like there's always a thought of an idiot, and people think of me, and how the hell do you deal with that? And he's a damn machine. I have nothing but respect for him, and I say this from the perspective not of he's doing better for himself, but from the perspective of achievement and human aspiration. Is he successfully transformed his life into something that lets him exercise his mind, lets him get smarter every day, because he's basically so he's getting smarter every single day. He's in the right company of people who care about intellectual things. Developers who are in the industry tend to be really smart people, and they tend to talk really interesting things, conversations about math, philosophy, the sciences, the humanities circulating around you, and you just start in the right circles, and you start hearing about the connections. Like it just starts, like life starts unfolding for you.
Right.
And it's, you can do it. That's the thing that first and foremost, you can do it. There's a non-zero probability chance every single day that you're gonna get a job. It means that if you ride that non-zero probability out over long enough time span, it's a 100% probability that you're going to get in. It's just, do you have, are you in the position to, do you have the resources to do it? Everybody's situation is different. Do you have the support at home to do it? Everybody's situation is different. And over here at my job is just to give people a reminder that, look, it'll happen. Just like fuck what it says. Like, it doesn't matter what everybody thinks of you or what you fucking do. Like, fuck that shit. Just keep going at it. Don't do it because you wanna, or it's valid, but don't think about that. How the work that you're going to be doing is going to be different. How many people's lives you're going to be able to impact, and what it means for your family, and what it can mean for your own life. I mean, I can work from anywhere in the world. I've had that ability from the moment I got my first job. Well, almost. And that can change things. Like, we can move out of Toronto and move to Newmarket, which is a suburb. There are like 15 hiking trails. There's a hiking trail 2 minutes away from us, foot, which is crazy. I'm still in the middle of the tech sector, and I was able to successfully keep my family safe from the pandemic by moving away from in high population job. Yeah, like I even sense of shame in saying all these things. Like, is it really that bad to be really that bad to want to do right by yourself and your family? And I just want people to have hope. I just want people to grow.
See, the thing is, too, I mean, like I said, I'm 26 years old, and I look on Facebook, I look at Instagram, and I see all these people that I've graduated with now graduating, either having a bachelor's degree or even more, like working on their doctorates and whatnot. And here I am still trying to grind morning, day in and day out, get this at least some knowledge of JavaScript and eventually some other language to go by. So it can be discouraging. It can be very discouraging. But I know that if I continue on and I push through, it's just going to be that much better for me. And to say that I'm not in debt and having to get myself a degree, that's where I'm getting at.
I think the what I hear when I hear these stories, that this path is a lonely one, and there's a lot of people that drop out not because they're not qualified. It's just that, Joey said something interesting, and as much as I honestly adore Joey because he's doing something that a lot of people, he advocates for new developers, he advocates, but he said something about, like, showing passion, curiosity, and it's like, that's great, and it's, but like, how do you do that? Like, that's what when I was asking those questions. It's like, everybody wants that. Everybody wants you to show passion, grit, and curiosity. But how do I show you, manager, that I am curious and that I'm passionate? Like, I'm over here, great guy. He used to club in Toronto, and during like heat waves he would be outside working like 12-hour shifts. He would go home, he had a newborn baby, and then he would learn how to code, apply for jobs. So it's like, how do you show that? Like, are you supposed to record yourself? Like, are you supposed to be like, on some sort of live feed, like, hey, here, like, what the hell does that look like? What the hell does passion look like, and how do you convince other people that you have it?
Like the YouTube people that show themselves. I used to live on the streets and all these things, and then now I'm a coder, or now I'm getting six figures on drop shipping.
Yeah, and that's how I feel when I get on this and I talk about these things, and I want to share hope with people. That's how I feel. Is I don't want people to think that I'm like one of those made it rich gurus, because I'm not. I'm trying to build a system over here that that people can use to come in, and that's the system, that highway from graduation, or that highway from starting to getting your first job. And it's just, I myself find so much resistance from people. Like I find cynicism and skepticism from my friends and my colleagues and my peers. I find cynicism and skepticism from people in the industry that we would love to partner with.
Mm.
And it's almost like everybody's just given up and are okay with things the way they are. And it's just so sad, like it's like fuck, like why don't people see that um,
He was able to bring down the cost of spaceflight.
to something that is just so ridiculously cheap that actually having a moon base is now like it's a practical possibility because he thought from first principles. Um, he said, "All right, well, what's the problem with spaceflight? Well, the first problem is all of our spaceships are throwaways. You use them once and then you dispose of them. Like, what? That's crazy. Why are we doing that?" And he kept digging deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, and he didn't find an answer. And the floor kind of just fell away. Like the floor of that question just kept falling away, and he realized that there is no reason why spacecraft have to be throwaway. There is no reason why they have to be this expensive, and there is no reason why the government has to do this and the private sector can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
And now you have Bezos and Branson who just went to space and came back. You have the space tourism really affordable.
Well, like millionaires can now go to space for 200,000, which is unheard of. Like
That's extremely cheap. That's really cheap, relatively speaking, and that price is going to start dropping each year. That price is going to start dropping. I think by the time we all turn like 70, I think spaceflight is probably going to be about, I'd say, $10,000 for a ticket, and you can do that. In your lifetime, you can do that once, and you can get that out of your system. And that starts by first principles thinking, by challenging assumptions. And the assumption that the bootcamp industry right now is challenging is you can learn how to code and solve real business problems within 12 weeks. And let's test that assumption, let's test that hypothesis. And I've seen so many people like live that and express that in their careers,
Right.
like actually come in and do 12 weeks of boot camp. I hire them. I hired 10 of them this last
them just accepted it. All of them.
feet first in the industry. And if I can hire, 10 semi-randomly selected people from the bootcamp industry, and all 10 of them have secure careers as software developers now, like that to me just says, all right, well, yes, like this can be done. And
Yeah.
this bootcamp sector is going to mean the difference between, I believe that it's going to be part of the difference between the West becoming technologically irrelevant and the West being the shining forefront of software development. Is
Mm-hmm.
I sincerely believe that the bootcamp industry is going to change the way we look at software development because they're questioning things from first principles. They're doing this without any backing. They don't have 500 years of tradition. They don't have presidents who graduated
Yeah.
from their campuses and dynasties that are supporting them financially and politically. These guys are like, they're startups, and they're questioning things and living and dying by their curriculums. Like, did you guys hear about Lambda School? Did you guys hear about what happened with Lambda School?
No, I've heard of Lambda School. What happened to them?
So what happened was they were iterating on their curriculum because how boot camps work is they live and die by their curriculum. If their curriculum doesn't perform, uh, they're not going to get enough people placed in the industry. They have to report on those numbers,
Mm-hmm.
federally mandated or state mandated. They have to report on those numbers. So if they're showing 20 or 30% placement rates, who's gonna go to that boot camp? So that's a significant like thing. Like they have to place students,
Mm-hmm.
otherwise they're not going to get admissions, and then their business is going to suffer, and they're going to go out of business. So they need to have a solid curriculum. Lambda School did two things bad, and they only did it once, and like it's that mistake is haunting them until today. I think unfairly, but we can talk.
Yeah. I think this is a whole different conversation, and like maybe like let's save it for a different session. But yeah, I think that there's a lot of cynicism in the industry, and
Mm.
we don't
I
we don't
just
treat each
wanna
other with
actually,
with
actually,
kindness.
I really want to just finish that point though, because I think it's important. Because like I just want to wrap up my point about boot
Sure,
camps.
sure.
Lambda
Okay.
School, they iterated too fast on their curriculum because that's what boot camps do. They try and improve their curriculum all the time. What ended up happening was they iterated on it so much, they tried to make it so cost effective for themselves that it compromised quality significantly for their curriculum. And they didn't handle the fallout in an appropriate way in the moment. And what ended up happening was they got taken to court, they got sued, they had lawsuits against them. They still do. There are problems there. I believe
Ever any problems from
the old students from that particular cohort, they have serious gripes with Lambda School, and the government fined them for what was it for misleading practices in marketing materials. But the actual thing that they did was they iterated too fast, and they broke their curriculum in the middle of a live fulfillment cycle for their customers. What does that tell you? That means that these boot camps, they are incentivized to have good curriculums and do right by their students. Otherwise, they die. you
Mm-hmm.
know, that kind of selection pressure, that kind of Darwinistic selection pressure, all that that's going to do is make boot camps stronger because they have nothing going for them except admissions and their curriculums and their outcomes. Like they live and die by those three pillars. So
Mm-hmm.
for me, just thinking from first principles, where does this go in 10 years? How good are boot camps?
150 boot camps in the US and Canada. I think the number might be higher actually.
In that intense pressure, in that pressure cooker, in that competition, that fire of competition, what's going to come out of that industry? I can't even imagine what's going to come out. I can speculate, but I really think that this industry is, if I may speculate, I think it's going to change everything. I think this particular industry is going to change how we look at technical education. And that's a
Yeah.
massive deal because technical education, technology and education are the two drivers of civilization and of entire countries. So that's why I'm kind of excited about it. Like I didn't go to boot camp, Navi did. I'm really geeking out about it. I think it's a wonderful industry. Anyway, I'm gonna stop talking about it. I just wanted to put those thoughts out there because I don't know, maybe somebody will hear about them, maybe somebody will talk about them. Um, yeah, Navi, you had something to say. I just wanted to hand it over to you.
Yeah, no, these are all great conversations, but I just feel like there's a deeper layer to that, and I kind of wanna go back to, just back to our devs
Yeah.
for this session, and we'll do another session on, I think, like, to maybe close that loop of boot camps. I think that the way that the boot camp industry is going, I think this is how people in trades are gonna go to, instead of like going for a 4-year degree, whether you're, becoming a marketer, whether you're going, like, whatever you want to learn. I think people are gonna start going down that, like, do you really need to be in a 4-year program to get to become a content creator, to learn SEO insights, to sort of like, just, there's so much there, like, um, that you don't need in, and like I feel so split about this because I had so much, I made such good friends. I found you, in university. So it's like I feel really split on shitting on them, but it's just that, like, they're not innovating fast enough, and that's my only problem with them. But let's move on from that conversation. Monarch, I don't know if you've been monitoring Discord, but there's some really good questions on there, and we have a few more people that came in on Riverside. Rohit, if you want to come on stage, please join. Um, is there a quick button that, like, people
Yes.
can you just kind of go over that? Because I believe you're the host. I'm a
Uh,
guest here, so.
Jonathan, how did you join? Because I haven't seen the joining side
There's
actually of
a
the.
there's a button at the very bottom of the whole four uh, grid, and it just requests to go ahead and sign in, and it'll ask you your name and then a question. It will not allow you to go without a question, and then it'll basically give you a call.
Okay, perfect. So I guess while we're waiting for people to join, let's go to some of these questions. I think this one is a really good one on our Discord server. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but let's come back to just like maybe what the question is how do people pass the coding part of the interview process? Well, that's kind of what we're trying to solve here with the hiring hackathon and just the assessment piece and how like just how for lack of a better word, how fucked up it is and how you're sort of going through like 5, 6 different interviews with different teams, trying to whiteboard it, trying to, share your code. And it's like, do you really need to do all of that? So, Monarch, what are your thoughts on that? How do you pass the coding part of the interview?
I'm opinionated, and I think you pass the coding part by telling everybody who's asking you to do algorithm tests to politely fuck off and leave you alone.
Value that you're bringing.
Now, if I were to ask a carpenter to carve me a little wooden doll and prove their woodworking skills by carving me a little wooden doll, but then on the job has nothing to do with carving little wooden dolls. The job has everything to do with installing cabinets in kitchens. You wouldn't even pick up a whittling knife. Would I be called a smart person? Would I be a smart employer? Am I a smart employer if I ask a carpenter to do whittling for me and that's how I'm done? No, I wouldn't be. Like it's fucking stupid. And by allowing those people to bring you down, I think we're just doing ourselves a disservice by letting the coding part of the interview, like the algorithm side of it, I think it's just really stupid. I think you should ignore it. If you pass it, give it a shot. Like don't ignore the interview. When I say politely ask them to fuck off, I mean if they tell you no, we don't want you, tell them to fuck.
But
Do the
yes, give it a shot. You learn something new. You learn how to whittle a
little doll. It's cool. Like you can do something like you can use that as a pastime instead of watching TV. You can whittle dolls, and maybe you'll pick up a cool little hobby. I do lead code programming once in a while. Like I just do it for fun, and it's a stress reliever for me. But the real value is installing cabinetry. Building full stack apps. Solving business problems. That's the real value. That's why you're going to get hired. Focus on becoming the best cabinet installer that you can, right? Like that's how you pass the coding interview is by focusing on the things that matter the most. Forget 80% of the garbage. Focus on the 20% that's going to get you valued by your employer. And I hire people because they can build a UI for me. I hire people because they can build interactions. I hire people because they have amazing skills when it comes to CSS, amazing skills when it comes to animations. I might hire somebody because they're really good at managing or just
there's so much
intellectual capacity. They're so smart that they can build really complex little algorithms in the back end. Yeah, I'll hire those people too. But out of 5 kinds of developers that I can hire, only one of them needs to be good at algorithms. And to be honest, in a startup, that algorithm skill is not even relevant. You're looking to put out beautiful UI to attract customers to your product, so that you can sell them something. It's a Stripe integration, some CSS, some React, boom, you're done. Like there's no algorithms over there for most applications. And forget it. Forget the algorithm tests. I say focus on just building your skills up. Actually, I'm so happy that Chris is here because Chris, we were talking about the Seagull book. What's the Seagull book?
Jonathan
Jonathan
Livingston
Livingston
Seagull.
Seagull. And yeah, and he wanted to fly. We talked about this in context of that book, rhythms. But
I don't know if that's what you want
to
to
come
come
up.
up.
You hopped on with what's up. So what's up? What are your thoughts? Like, what do you think about the whole coding skill thing?
Yeah, it's a. What do I think about the whole coding skill? I enjoy doing it. It's what's funny is when I first started coding, it was before my ADHD diagnosis, and it was the only thing that I enjoyed doing. And when you have ADHD, it's hard to do anything that you don't enjoy doing. Um, because you just can't focus on it, right? And I was
Mm.
really enjoying coding, but what I really hated was studying coding. Once I learned how to code, once I learned something, I'd sit down and I'd just build something. I'd build all day, you know. Um, but you got to get your studying in there to level up, to learn the next technique to use. And fortunately, um, that got a lot easier after my diagnosis because I could be treated for my ADHD. Because my entire life I've been living with a disability I didn't know I had. I just thought I was lazy and a flake. Um,
You're anything
and
but lazy, Chris. I've seen how much you work with the Learn a Bit committee. I think that like it's hard for I said this in the session, it's hard for strangers to know who we are, and it's hard for strangers to recognize our talent. So I think that like it's just getting past like, that hump of like how do I make this person how do I convince this person that I have what it takes? Um, by the way, we're gonna have a bunch of people telling their employers to fuck off or their potential employers to fuck off. Let's not do that. Um, um,
Viva la revolucion!
but I think that like the truth is you're also judging the companies that are hiring you as much as they're judging you. Like don't forget that you also have the power. You're gonna be spending like a large chunk of like every single day waking up showing up there, so just make sure that like that aligns, right? So if someone's like judge them on the test that they give you. I think that's how we change the industry, as well, right? Like the in terms of like revolution, like we start kind of like judging them on like, hey, like you don't like, does this make sense? Like your job description is talking about XYZ and you're judging me on a technology that doesn't really qualify with your job description. So what's going on here? Maybe have those difficult conversations.
I have a little story there. I landed one of my first clients for the company. This was 5 years ago. I landed one of my first clients, and I'm still in touch with people.
They sent me a test, and it was a 20-page,
not page. It was a 20-question test. The last 5 questions were some kind of technical challenge. I forget the details now. I took a look at the test, and the tests were so poorly worded but it was multiple choice, that some of the questions had no right answer, and yet there was no option on the multiple choice. Other questions had multiple right answers, and some questions were just any option is right from a given perspective. And I just emailed them back and I said, "Hey, I can't do this test, but I have some feedback for you." And I just went through the entire test. I commented the Word document and I sent them a commented version of the Word document and said, "Guys, like this test, sorry, but like I don't think it's a fair test. I'll understand if you don't hire me for my services, but I just wanted to give you guys some feedback." And they loved it. And I landed the client because I ripped into their test. I told them, and like this is not what you do to your candidates, and I just wanted to point that out to you. And they loved it, and they got me on a call, and the way they dealt with it, in hindsight, it was an interview. They said, "All right, well, let's get on a call, and why don't you tell us what you hated about it in more detail, and we have some questions for you too." So just I started that's how I got that job. That's how I got that gig as a freelancer. It was just bizarro, but it kind of goes to show that sometimes you can actually take these situations and creatively work around them. And an algorithm test sometimes is just black and white. Like 99% of the time, it's just black and white. You can't really do anything about it. You can't really you wouldn't be in a position to email back and say, "No, fuck you." Like, no, you can't do that, really. The fuck you is you say that in your head to them after they reject you. But sometimes companies can be more reasonable than you think, and sometimes if you,
it's unfair.
I don't know if anybody's ever actually sent an email to a company and said, "Look, this is great for a university grad. I know how to solve problems. I know how to work in your stack, but I've never done algorithms in my life, and I don't know how that's relevant. Maybe you could help me understand how that's relevant, and if you're willing to overlook this, then I would love to do a coding challenge. If you have one, I don't mind spending more time of my own doing a coding challenge, a full-on coding challenge. Just let me know what you think. And maybe that's one way to deal with algorithm tests in some select circumstances, is be human about it, talk to them, and just let them know that, hey, look, this is not, you're looking for somebody, here, I'm kind of over here, but you're testing for something that's like here, like way out there. Maybe we can just talk. Rohit just joined us, and Rohit, you had a question. I can't remember what you said. I pressed the green button.
Oh,
Where'd he go?
Oh, great.
If
If you want to join back in,
I didn't mean to be scary at all. I wanted to ask you what you had to say. So we'll
We had a
wait for
question
Rohit while he
saying,
comes back.
answer it if you want to.
What was the question? What was the question?
Any suggestion on how to continue to grow past the boot camp?
Okay, yeah. Well, it's a runway analysis. It's you have to look at it from a startup-y point of view. How many months do you have left until you absolutely have to go and get another job? Like that's probably the first thing that you
Yeah.
need to factor in. Because if the answer is I have
That's a
2
hard
weeks, yeah, it's a hard truth. And if the answer is I have 2 weeks, then save your money, go and get a job, and do this part time, save up, maybe get who
gonna run situation, or
maybe go and get some savings and somehow I don't know, like make it so that you have at least 6 months of runway. And if you can make it so that you have a year or 2 years of runway, maybe indefinite runway, if you have family that you can move in with that is tolerable, move in with them. Do what you have to do. And this is a hard truth. Like the only thing that's stopping people from coming into this industry is the runway. If we all had unlimited runway, I think we would all be approaching the job search very differently. And I think a lot more of us would be successfully transitioning in. It's just that we don't have the runway. So Rohit's coming back in, and
yeah.
I wanna hear more about that question.
Oh no.
And
I think he might be pressing to speak and might be dropping his call.
it
But
we can
yeah,
keep trying. We can keep trying. It's good.
yeah.
It's good. And Rohit, you can also just if you get frustrated, just chat, and I have my chat tab open, and I can answer. If you type it out, we can all talk about it. Yeah, I'm not sure why it kicks you out either. Navi, you were saying.
I was just saying that I actually really like the perspective that you shared about looking at yourself as a startup, evaluating just cash flow, like how many months you have. I think people don't talk about this. I've never heard anyone put it in those perspectives, but just kind of evaluating as soon as you finish the bootcamp program, or even if you're self-taught and you've picked up, there's so many amazing online communities that are teaching you how to code for free, which I think is phenomenal. So I wonder how boot camps are going to keep up with that, but that's a different topic for a different day. But sort of like take a look at, is my runway? I love what you've said there. Like, is it 12 months or is it 12 weeks? And then what does that mean, right? So should you be kind of like taking a part-time job to make sure that you can pay rent, and that and that your family doesn't feel frustrated that like you're not contributing, whether you're living with your partner or whether you're living at home.
Is that
Sorry.
question to everybody, or is that a question to just Mr. Rohit?
Anybody can hop in, and
Okay.
maybe that's one way to uh, people's situations that's more fine grained than just throwing out random pieces of advice that may or may not apply to you.
Mr. Grant, would you like to go first?
That might be too much of a personal question, Monarch.
I know, I know,
I'm perfectly
I
fine
know.
with it.
Yeah,
I'm
I don't,
perfectly fine with it.
Yeah,
I
if
don't mind
any,
sharing.
yeah.
Talk about in fact.
I could talk about in the abstract. Like maybe I should start with that.
Yeah.
I would say, all right. So let's take a sample, like a fictional. We'll go by letters. So A for Adam. So let's take a fictional person called Adam. Let's say they graduated in the middle of their boot camp. They weren't at the top, they didn't get picked up immediately, weren't at the bottom. They weren't one of those people who just gave up on coding. They actually liked it and they want to continue doing it. And they genuinely every day do at least a little bit of research or coding or reading. If they're too busy with their job, then at least they read about it. Their YouTube is full of this content that they just leave running while they're driving. And on the weekends, they put time away to code. Um, Now, for Adam, the problem here is Adam needs to have more coding time. He needs more butt in chair time, is what I call it. Being
one with the code and just
learning
learning new
new things,
things.
or just working on one problem and building one project to the point where they either complete it or they're bored of it, and then they want to work on another project and another project and another project. If they can get themselves to that spot and they can get themselves to that spot for an extended period of time, I'm talking about months, possibly a year, maybe 2 years. um, that's probably the most surefire way I know of to get into the industry for somebody like Adam. Is they need to stop working full time or they need to significantly cut back their hours. What does that look like for Adam? I don't know. Let's say that Adam has, I don't know, I'm going to make up numbers. $50,000 in savings. Their burn rate, they have a wife and two kids, stay-at-home wife, two kids. Let's say their burn rate is $10,000 a month, and they have 50. Uh, and
And
they
they supplement
supplement the
the burn rate with income. They go to work and they're earning
$3,000
$3,000.
a month. So their burn rate is 7,000, and they have 50,000 of savings. So what does that leave us with? 7 months and change of runway. Uh, 7 months, they don't really have any face time with the code. They go and they work. They're working 12-hour shifts, and they're earning $3,000 a month. Is it possible for Adam to fuck it? I'm just gonna vamoosh for my job. I'm gonna quit my job. I'm gonna do this full time. My runway will now be, instead of 7,000 burn, now my burn is 10,000, significantly more. But my runway now dropped from 7 months to 5 months. Right now, I have 5 months of run, but that's 5 months of just coding. All I'm going to do is code. I'm going to put everything on hold. I'm going to tell my friends to fuck off. I'm going to tell my wife to take a hike. I'm going to
Yeah,
tell.
we tell my wife to fuck off too. Now, is she
I was
gonna
waiting
Play with
for
your
I
understand
didn't
it or
say
not?
that. Could be sleeping on the couch.
No offense, Navi, but I'm going to like basically turn into a hermit, and my family. I mean, okay, honestly, if you don't have a job and you have that freedom of time, you can balance a very good family life and a social life and still code. And if you have 5 months of that, then you're going to come out of that employers would happily hire you for. Now, the question then becomes: are you willing to take that chance? Are you willing to blow those $50,000
Mhm.
5 months with, I'd say, about a 30% to 40% chance of not finding a job? I would estimate that somebody in that position would be 30-40% chance you're not going to find a job in 5 months. It's a tough call. How do you deal with that? Do you take out a loan? Do you ask mom and dad for help? Do you ask your wife to get a job? Do you ask, maybe your kid,
19, do you
ask
ask
them
them
to
to
get a
get
job to help the family out until you make a transition? These are hard questions, and these are uncomfortable questions that are really difficult to discuss in a public forum, but those options do need to be brought up, because now we're talking about financial planning. I'm not a financial planner. I'm not in a position to
Hey,
give
We
people
did, we
financial
we did a
advice.
finance degree. Like,
Yeah.
my dad used to say that to me all the time. By the way, I'm turning my camera off because we're sharing a Wi-Fi, and for some reason, you leave like the city just like 40 kilometers north, and like high speed is just like a myth. Um, but yeah, like I did a finance program. We both did, and my dad used to say this to me all the time. He was like, "You're in finance. Like, why don't you know how to manage your money better?" And I was like, "Dad, that's not just what they teach you at school." But I feel like we don't actually, as maybe as a society, we don't talk about this. And I actually have these conversations with my young nieces. They're like 14, 16, and we start I because I was really bad at managing my money as a young person, so I want to make sure that I can teach them things that I was terrible at. So I think that these are some really good questions to ask. And structure your how can you structure your time so that you can maximize putting yourself behind the terminal and just like the editor, and spend more time coding and building rather than being frustrated with, okay, I need to get work because how am I going to make end meet? So
Yeah, yeah, and that's a full conversation that you have to have with your spouse, with your family, with your parents, with your kids, possibly. And if the answer is, well, I don't have the runway, and that's the honest answer, then you have options. You either make the runway somehow. Maybe you get a part-time job, and in your particular situation, you're able to do a part-time job and still get 40 hours a week of coding in. Or you quit for way, you earn a little bit of money, you make your savings happen, possibly take out a loan. I mean, I'm not going to tell anybody to take out a loan to get a job, but like, these are tough questions. If you're a startup, which we are, then we have these options where if higher burn rate than we're earning money, which happens sometimes. Like if you're spending more money than we're earning, tough decisions have to be made.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so Rohit shared that his runway is a little smaller, puts you in the position of, unfortunately, what are you going to do about it? Like, are you going to, for now, do a strategic retreat, and instead of, yeah, instead of going and finding a dev job and gambling with your life, to maybe get some savings in, or make some arrangements. Um, Grant shared that he's got till October, and then that's all he's got. Um, well, yeah, like October means that fastest. So let's today is July. Let's
I'm just gonna.
take
Is it end of October? I'm just gonna
this
say
end of October. So you have all of August, you have all of September, you have all of October. And in that
that's
time,
pretty
that's
hard.
a really, really tight timeline. I'll be very honest. That's a really tight timeline. And timeline, I would honestly suggest possibly getting a part-time job if that helps. Like crunch the numbers, like get Excel out. Sometimes just getting a part-time job, 20-hour shifts a week, can extend your runway. They can double your runway in some cases. So if you can get the goal is get 40 hours of coding in a week, right? Like that's bare minimum. Like get 40 hours of coding in a week, spend a little bit more time applying for jobs in networking. Can you give 20 hours of your time per week to runway? Do the numbers work out like that for you? Possibility. I think that's probably one of the most sensible possibilities. Ability you have that. Then have I'm going to make up a number. Let's say you have a X dollars in your. I'm not even going to make up a number. $100 in savings, and that's going to last you till October. Is there a way for you to get another $100 from friends? Is there a way for you to get $100 from somebody who you love, who believes in you, and is willing to give it to you as a gift, or maybe as a loan? I don't know. Can you extend that runway? Because once you get in, and once you get that job for the first year, my anecdotal, I haven't done like research studies, but every single person that I've worked with, mentored, seen, the common story here is the first job pays, fair salary. The second job is usually a bump up. The third job is a bump above that. So you're asking for money today, or like
you're basically saying I'll burn money today for a higher income tomorrow.
and I think everybody should just pop open an Excel calculator. Just pop open an Excel sheet and do the numbers for
Mm-hmm.
themselves. Sometimes there are government grants
Right.
available. There are government grants available sometimes. are you able to take advantage of them? That's something that not enough people look into. And if you haven't looked into government grants, look into them. You might be pleasantly surprised. Like up here in Canada, we're practically communist. We get a lot of really good grants, and we take advantage of those grants when we can, but not enough of us do. So that's an option.
Excellent points. I think another is sort of like taking a look at that 3-month runway. Okay, well, how many applications do I need to apply for? What's that ratio, right? What's that response ratio like? How much how much output do I need to do? So is 40 hours enough, or do I need to show up for 60? Or should I up the ante to 80, and then take like Saturday Sundays off, or only take Sundays off? I think there's a little bit of like compromise we have to think about when we're trying to break into the industry. And yeah, it is tough, and like you do have to give up a personal life. That's just that, like, people don't talk about it, and that sort of is the nature of the game currently.
Hopefully not
Yeah,
for
that's what
long.
I see. So that's one of the questions that I had to ask during the recruitment before we actually got off the panel earlier today is what is the minimum that a recruiter would like to see, or would anybody like to see in general, as far as a language goes? Because I need to know how much further I need to go in order for them to even bat an eye towards me. I can put all the applications in left and right to the small town shops or small town businesses, but I need to know where my cap is as far as how much I know. So if I know JavaScript and I know the arrays, I know functions, I know the if else statements, I know all these things, great. But is it enough for me for this business to even look at me as a considerate person? So
I
that's one thing that I go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna answer that. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say it's just like that's one thing that I set my goal at. So I'm more of a paycheck to paycheck. Monday through Friday, I'm working from 8 o'clock in the morning till 5 o'clock at night or in the afternoon, and then from 5 o'clock till 8:30, depending on the traffic, I'm doing Uber to make ends meet. But you know, at times it gets exhausting. It does, having to go behind a computer, drive for another 3 hours or so, and then come back to sit down behind the computer again. It gets exhausting. So I'm like trying to find my end goal, or not necessarily my end goal, but my goal, and then hopefully I have somebody there. Let's say, for example, you, Monarch, that'll I'm doing what you asked me to do, and you're still mentoring me as I go along, so that I can pick up more through that business. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's I think it's tempting to try and box it in and say this is the minimum I need to know. It's tempting. Um, the that point never arrives, because that point you're already at the point where you have enough. Is the truth. There are jobs out there that you can get right now that will get your foot in the door, even if you know just a very, very basic amount of JavaScript.
I think I mentioned this earlier. You can get into a QA job,
and that's one stepping stone towards a developer job. There is no minimum. There's a sliding scale. If you know no coding, you're probably not going to get a job. Although I have seen people get a job who didn't know any coding and they got a dev job somehow through nepotism and connections. But let's be real, like average Joe, it's a sliding scale depending on the employer, and the only way to increase your odds of getting in is by coding more, your skills more and more. So it's, instead of looking at it as what's the place I need to reach, I think the way you should look at it is how should my days be structured in order for me to daily increase my chances of getting it, and how long can I do that? Is that sustainable? Can I sustain that financially, in that emotionally?
And is there a configuration of my schedule? Is there a configuration of
how many hours I spend in Uber, in my day job, and coding, and with my family and friends? Is there a configuration right now for me that will let me code for 20 to 40 hours a week? I think in your case, I would start with, okay, is there a configuration that will let you code for 20 hours a week? Like, are you there actually? Like, do you have 20 hours a week of coding in right now?
Me? Yeah. No. Yeah.
You do. Okay. Okay, good. Do you think it's possible for you to boost that up to 40? Is that possible? Like, do you see a way to do that?
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, even on Saturdays and Sundays, it's the same routine. It's a never-ending story.
What do you mean? A
I
never-ending
work on
story?
Saturday and I work Saturday and Sunday. If I'm
Okay.
not
so
How do
on
you?
behind the computer,
Yeah, yeah. How do you
go ahead.
get your coding hours? How can we make it so that you're coding 20 to 40 hours a week?
I, um,
Is that possible? Like, let's be real.
it
Like, is
can
that
be.
possible?
It can be. Yes, it can be. That's what I'm saying though. It's like weekends. I also do the same thing. Well, not necessarily work at the 9 to 5, but I
Hmm.
do when I'm not spending time with my family. When I have time to do so, I'm
Hmm.
behind the computer,
Hmm.
putting as much time in as I can. And when I'm
Hmm.
not doing that, I'm Ubering.
Hmm. Gotcha. And when you're doing that, what you're going to see is whenever you apply for a job, um, the chance of you getting that job gets higher the better
Mm-hmm.
you are. Why having a solid practice every week of 20 to 40 hours is very important because that's your fundamental value. You're increasing fundamental value. Now, can you sustain that emotionally and can you sustain that financially? If you can sustain your current pace financially and emotionally indefinitely, you're gonna make it one day. And congratulations, you're already there. You don't even know it. It's an inevitable conclusion that you will make it if you don't stop trying. It might take you a year, it might take you 3 months, 3 years, but you will make it. And then the question becomes one of optimization. Okay, how do we decrease that time? But
Mm-hmm.
for that, you need to, like you kind of like you need to have taken off. You can't be
Right.
going downwards in terms of emotional and financial energy. You need to be
Right.
going, sustaining or upward.
Right.
Um, and from what I'm hearing, you're sustaining or upwards. Now the question becomes, okay, well, where are you getting
when you send out a resume?
resume? Um, if you send out 100 resumes, how many responses do you get? How many phone interviews do you get?
I haven't.
Okay, well, that's your first problem. Send out resumes. So first, that's your first blockers. You need to send out resumes.
Okay.
There's this in vogue concept that people talk about, which is, you got to network, network, network. I got in with zero networking. I got in with just job applications. So you gotta have a solid resume, and the only way you find a solid resume is you keep putting applications out. See you, Chris. Thanks for hopping on, man. Um, yeah, like you gotta work on your resume, and until safely say that I send out 100 job offers. Sorry, I send out 100 resumes. I'm going to get 10 interviews. Until you kind of get to that point where it's predictable for you. Uh,
Which is resume screening. You haven't cracked the code yet.
so
That's your next job now.
is
Now
now
Mm-hmm.
that
that
you
you
have a solid practice and you're sustaining a practice, now your next job now is you need to unlock the first layer, which is you need to start getting phone interviews, which means applying to jobs. Yes, a little bit of networking as well, but applying to jobs and trying to find that uh, not trying to find, sorry, fixing your resume and having enough job applications per week. I would recommend have at least 20 to 40 a week.
Okay.
Um, and then you'll kind of see that, okay, well, I sent out 100 resumes, nothing worked out. The problem is in your resume because if on average, just so you know, if you send out 30 resumes, you should be getting resume. If you send out 30 job applications, you should be getting at least one or two interview calls. And if you don't get that number, The fault is in your resume. So you fix your resume. Then you start getting phone calls. Now you're at the next level, right? Level 2 is phone calls. And they hate you and they hang up and you never hear from them again. The problem is your interview skills. And John, talking to you, I think you won't have that problem. I think you'll be fine. But after that point, then it's the technical skills. And that's what you've been building towards all these months is
Right.
by having a regular coding practice. If you can get to the point where people are telling you, we really liked you, but we went with a stronger candidate, if you get to that point where they genuinely liked you and they genuinely thought that you had what it took, but they have a better candidate to choose from, then then it's a matter of time now that you get a job offer. Then you just keep applying. You don't need to change anything. Just sustain at that point, and you'll get that job offer. So it's like it's a multi-step. This is why people rip their hair out. Is because it's everything
Yeah.
in your life.
You have to juggle, your personal relationships. You have to
Do financial planning. You have to, on top of that, then you do emotional, self-regulation. You have to manage yourself. Then you have to start applying for jobs while increasing your skills. And then while you're applying for jobs, you need to tweak your resume, make sure that you're not pissing people off on phone calls and are getting enough final technical challenges. And then you'll get that job. It's like, jeez, like what the fuck are we doing to our junior developers? Like what the fuck are we doing? But this is the world that you find yourself in.
Yeah. I mean,
But
I
it's
think, like,
doable. It's doable. It's very doable.
yeah. I think like another way to sort of look at it is, I really liked what you said, Monarch, and we've shared this this exact sort of like trajectory in lots of different channels, but it's like gathering more data points for yourself, right? And seeing like where is it that you need to tweak your process, and you won't know what you need to tweak until you don't have like that data gathered back. So it's like let's try to make sure that there's enough data or sample data to start kind of going, okay, well, is it the resume? Is it this? Is it my online presence? Or what is it? So yeah, I actually kind of, I think we underestimate how much data actually allows us to tell our own story of like where we are.
Rohit has
So,
an interesting situation. He's getting at the interview after a technical challenge, and that's really good. And if you have like Rohit, you said that you had a shorter runway, and if you're getting to that point, now all you have to do is job applications. So you should be applying, if you're not already doing it, then you should be applying to say 40 jobs, 20 to 40 jobs. If you can do it, apply to like, 100, 200 jobs in a week if you can do it. And apply to jobs until you run out of jobs to apply to. And that's you can do that in a week. That's if you can get to that point, then if you're not already doing that and you do that, then I think you'll increase your chances. That's the quantity play. Then there's a quality play of, all right, you're applying to a bunch of jobs. Is it the fact that your conversions per step are really low? Are you not getting enough calls back from your resume? Is that the problem? Are you not getting enough calls back after the technical challenges? Is that the problem? I don't know. But what do you think is the problem? Where are you getting blocked? Is it number? Is it quantity? Are you applying to 20 to 40 a week? Or the quality? Is it like a specific spot that you yeah, like I tell everybody just have an Excel tracker. Okay, you get 20 a week. I would say triple that if you can, do 60 a week. And I think if you can do that. Also, I don't know what you mean by technical challenges. You said that you're getting a few technical challenges. If that's lead code, that's great. That means you've tracked the top. Okay, take homes. Okay, perfect. Perfect. If it's a take home assignment and you're getting at least one callback, how many take homes did you do? Like, did you do 5? Did you do 10? Like, out of how many? One callback. 3. Okay, so you have a 33% bad, like very small sample size, but that's a 33% nominal conversion rate. That's great. What was the market? Okay. But if that's true, and if those aren't, was that the one that called you back? Was that the one that called you back? The marketing ploy? Okay, good. 50% mental rate, which is great, which is even better. Because out of 2 real jobs that gave you a technical challenge, 1 called you back. Yeah, like I think you just need to triple your application rate and hopes for you if you're at that stage. Like if you're at that stage, then if you triple your application, maybe quadruple it, um, that's probably gonna maximize your chances. I don't know what more you can do other than quantity at this point. I mean, I'd have to sit down and we can tweak, but then you're just squeezing lemonade out of lemons. You know, you're just squeezing lemons at that point. Like I think it's just about putting more lemons in your lemon press at this point.
I like that.
Does Mr. Chris is it De Piera? Is that what his
Mhm.
name is? Mr. Chris De Piera. So I was gonna get on the one of the challenges that Mint Bean has going on, but he stated earlier that same day that I was talking to him that he actually lives in San Antonio, same as I do. So I'm guessing he has a developer job in San Antonio, if I'm correct.
No,
No.
No.
no, no. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay. I guess what I was getting at is if I were to do that y'all know of, is there anywhere that I can go so that I can get myself some type of basis on a resume to start off of.
Mm.
That's what I was getting at to see if I can get to talk to Mr. De Pierre to see if I can't either physically meet him in San Antonio and just say this is my resume. Is there anything that you may think of that I can tweak of so that I can start getting myself out there?
Reach out to him. He might be open to it. Like I've met
Okay.
resumes. Like he knows some of the useful stuff that I know.
Mm-hmm.
He might be willing to share. Yeah. Reach out. Yeah, for sure. That's what Mint Bean's all about.
When the community, see if they're kind enough and have the time to help you out, maybe you'll say no.
Okay.
But yeah, man, like it can't hurt. Like for sure, give it a shot. Give it a shot.
Right.
You know what? That kind of brings me to Jonathan.
You know
So
what?
Chris,
You know what? Sorry, go ahead.
sorry, I know we're running on time and like we want to wrap this up, but I wanna say something about Chris, Emsed, and Julio and the whole Learn a Bit program. Like honestly, the amount of confidence that I've seen and John and Akira like built by building a program for like they're junior developers themselves. They've just started this journey themselves, and
That's so cool.
teaching others has elevated their own experience and sort of put them they've been able to capture those learnings and the opportunities that like that's kind of like what we wanted to create with Mint Bean as well. It's like Monarch and I can't be the only ones delivering programs. It's like, you know what, like there's no better technique than to teach. It's like, how do you solidify concepts, right? Like these fundamentals, how do you solidify them and make sure that they're there, and they're sort of like almost like they're back of your hand knowledge, and you do that by like teaching others and just kind of like showing up more times and like and creating that brand that our panel talked about, right? So I think that's what you're seeing with Chris, and I'm so incredibly proud of that entire team for like how much effort and time they've put in to create those challenges and just like give like pay it forward and like just create such a phenomenal program. It just makes me so happy when like I hear their success stories, and like Amsid and Julio, I think they got picked up. Amsid has been like on a series of interviews. Like he's just been interviewing, I feel like, for the last month. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Julio found a role as well, right, Monarch? I don't know if you can hear me.
Yep, he did. He recently did. He very, very recently did. So I don't know what the story is over there. I don't know if it's like solid or what the deal is, but he definitely started like, and I don't know what's coming out of that yet. And like he started coding with them. Another option, Jonathan, is maybe you can volunteer. Maybe you can reach out to a few charities and offer your time for free. If it's legal in the state of Texas to work for free for a company as an unpaid intern, then maybe that's another option that you can offer to people is, hey, I'll work for you for free. I have
Work
like
for a
20, 30
nonprofit.
hours. Hmm?
Work for a nonprofit. Work for a
Hmm.
nonprofit. Like work for something that like you can put on your resume, right? Open source is a category that new developers don't usually explore, but is phenomenal. And there's some really great projects out there. There's some really, really, really great projects out there. Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah. I think we need to wrap up this conversation. Monarch and I have had a really, really long day. He hasn't slept at all for the last, what, are we on 48 hours now?
No, I've slept. I just haven't had enough sleep. So I've had like 2 hours today, 3, 4 yesterday. It's just a hackathon. I'm looking forward to the weekend and some shut eye.
It's
Safe to
Tuesday,
say you need
by
some
the
sleep.
way. Just to put that in
We still got a
perspective.
ways to go.
Lots of the days to go, Grant. Lots of days to go. Yeah, I have a meeting at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. So yep, no
Safe
sleep
to say you
for
need some
no
sleep.
sleep for the week. Yep. No rest for the wicked.
This is
Awesome.
true.
All right, guys. Let's bring this to a close. Any closing thoughts, I guess, before we hop off? Any maybe just comments? There's a lot of chats coming in, Monarch. There's one on the Twitch chat. I don't know if you're monitoring that. There's a chat on Discord, and there's a chat on Riverside as well. So
Oh wow. I didn't know. I was just monitoring Discord and Riverside. I'm not looking at YouTube or Twitch.
yeah, I'm not looking at YouTube either. I'm looking at Twitch, and Tam's
Hmm.
house is hilarious. Um,
Okay. Well, there's another one of these tomorrow. What's the topic tomorrow?
Tomorrow's topic is, I think it's like, hold on. I have like a really shitty memory. How to talk to strangers online for fun and profit. This is actually
Oh
like
yeah.
something that like I personally have cracked. I've cracked how to open up a conversation with almost fucking anybody.
You're
Um,
so good at it. It's like
like,
ridiculous. You're really good at it. I'm impressed.
tell
Like,
me
you're
more.
really
Tell me
damn
more.
good at
Tell me
it.
more. Tell
And,
me more.
and you don't do it like in a sleazy way like a lot of people. Like you actually care about the person you're reaching out to. I want to learn from you tomorrow. I think tomorrow is yours. Like tomorrow's your day.
It's hard work. I have to tell you. It's hard work. Like you have to put in the time. You have to put in the time of like in their feed trying to look for something that like resonates. And when you send them that message, that first opener, like don't just like yeah, we'll talk about it tomorrow. But like, I just feel like people are so and because I have that COO title, like I get inundated with messages from salespeople inside of like SaaS, like oh like can we book some time for you? And the messages are so bad. They're so bad. I usually put them on mute. And it's like this is like and they're salespeople, so it blows my mind that people who do this for a living are connecting to people are doing it so bad. If your genuine connections can lead and transform your career, and we need to talk about that. So I want to share my knowledge on how to talk to strangers and the power of online networking, and it's so much better than in person. Monarch and I used to attend events in the city, and like they're just they're exhausting. They're exhausting, and online space has made it easier to talk to people in San Antonio, and talk to people in around the world, and it's like we're jumping cities. It doesn't matter time zones, and like we're all sort of on the same platform talking about the same things and relatable to each other. So
Can I
Sounds
go to
I
good to me.
sleep
I'll
clearly
be
now?
love
here.
hearing my own voice. Yes. I'm gonna shut up. All right,
Y'all have a
guys.
great night.
Yeah,
Thank you
This
thanks
was a
so
for
great
much for
chat.
joining
putting
us.
all this on and keeping it all going.
Yeah.
Y'all are doing awesome. So,
Sorry, what's that, Grant? Hold
I
on.
was, I was just saying, it's like y'all are doing awesome. Thanks for putting all this on and everything. So, I'm definitely enjoying it. Being new and everything. You know what I mean? Like it's just y'all are making it less intimidating, even though it's still scary. At least somebody y'all been doing it. At least y'all are here talking to us about it, right? So yeah,
Well, I
appreciate
appreciate that. That's very kind of you to say. I think it's just the community, you know, like being in a place where there are a couple of thousand people who are in the same spot as you, sharing those stories. I don't think it's Navi and me. I think it's just the people.
You to attribute that to us specifically.
Thank you
thank you
No,
for being our
I
first
agree
guinea
with
pig.
Mom.
on here. Yeah, thanks for being our guinea pig.
Anytime.
Really appreciate it.
Anytime.
All right. Well, I'm hopping
Okay.
off and hopefully I can sleep now. I don't know yet. Okay. See ya.
I might want Porthos. I feel like ice cream. Is it still open? I don't know. We'll have to see.
Grocery store ice cream. Let's do it.
All right, guys. Take care. See you tomorrow. Bye.
See you, Grand. See you, everyone. Bye bye.
And how do we leave this conversation? What do you
I
call?
do it for us.